Good evening. This meeting is called to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I will give the land acknowledgement. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, and the territories upon which our school boards and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territories of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga people, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. I will pass the mic over to Trustee Cunningham, who will be introducing the Altona Forest Public School, who will be performing, I guess, virtually. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Tonight, our musical performance is being delivered by video from the Altona Forest Public School Band and Choir. Members are grades 6 and 7 students and are directed by Andrew Tyas. In addition to singing O Canada, the band will be performing Pomp and Circumstance by Sir Edward Elgar. Later this year, the students plan to perform this piece during the grade 8 graduation ceremony. Thank you, Altona Forest.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Carton brasse porte l'épée, il se porte la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Altona Forest, for doing the O Canada. Much appreciated. Thank you. Just before I start with the next item of a declaration of interest, I would like to say that we welcome people into the boardroom for our public meeting. And in accordance with our policies and procedures, we expect a safe and respectful environment for all participants. That includes staff, board members, and guests. Everyone is expected to be respectful and not interrupt the meeting proceedings. In the interest of maintaining that, should there be any conflict between members of the audience or any meeting disruptions, people in attendance may be directed to leave the premises. So are there any declarations of interest? Hearing none, there are no declarations stated at this time. Can I have the adoption, a motion to adopt the agenda as distributed? Trustee Cunningham, Trustee Morton, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Moving on to the minutes, item 6, I'll have two motions. Motions to receive the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 21st, 2023, and the special board meeting of March 6th, 2023. Can I have a motion? Trustee Thatcher, Trustee Miller. Any questions on the minutes at this point in time? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Those minutes are adopted. Then a motion to approve the draft minutes of the regular board meeting of March 20th, 2023, and the special board meeting of April 3rd, 2023. Trustee Brown, Trustee Thompson, sorry, Trustee Thompson. Any questions on the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, the Ministry of Memorandums and Information Update. I'll go to Director Camille Williams-Taylor.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Good evening, all. I'm pleased to share that the planning for the 2023 Student Art Gallery is well underway, and the submission deadline is tomorrow, Tuesday, April 18th. Students in grades 7 through 12 are encouraged to be creative in showcasing their own unique perspectives about connection and community through art. We look forward to seeing the incredible student artwork displayed at this year's gallery taking place here at the Education Center on June the 8th. The Durham District School Board's French Immersion Information Evening is Tuesday, April the 25th. That's next week, from 7 to 8 p.m. The evening session will provide families with important information about our French immersion program and the opportunities for developing French language skills. Families interested in attending should speak to their child's principal for details about where the sessions are taking place across the district. Next week, the Diplôme d'études en langue française, or DELF, exam will be taking place here at the Education Center, and more than 300 secondary school students from both core French and immersion programs will be participating. This exam is voluntary in nature and available to students who registered in grade 12 French as a second language program during the school year. The DELF is an internationally recognized assessment of French proficiency. We wish students the very best of luck as they challenge the DELF, and we appreciate the staff who undertook training and engagement to facilitate this opportunity for our students. Coming up on Wednesday, April the 26th, we recognize Administrative Professionals Day. I'd like to share a message of thanks to all Durham District School Board's administrative staff. Your work provides valuable benefits to students, our colleagues, and the community. You are appreciated. And finally, there were multiple announcements by the Ministry of Education over the past 2 days. There were announcements yesterday on investing $180 million province-wide in additional targeted support in the classroom to help students build math and reading skills. The release of the Grants for Student Needs, or GSNs, which provides school boards with operating funding to support the operation of schools, was announced today. Earlier today as well, the Government of Ontario introduced a proposed Better Schools and Student Outcomes Act, which has been tabled in the legislature. The proposed act contemplates improvements for student learning experiences in general, with a focus on math and literacy outcomes in particular. Staff will be reviewing the details of these announcements and the proposed legislation in the coming days and weeks to understand how we will work together for effective implementation should the proposed act be passed. And that does conclude my update for this evening, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the director at this time? Just glad that the GSNs have finally been released. Looking to see the details, though, because it's the devil's in the details is the word I can say at this point in time. Okay, so moving on to public question period. There are, I believe, 8 items as far as public question period. Several questions, and the first question this evening is going to be done virtually, and I have Dylan to ask the question.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello, Dylan. Welcome.
Hello, Donna. All right, my question tonight is about the school year calendar for the 2024-25 school year. A few weeks ago, there was a report that was brought forward was talking about making Eid a board holiday in the 2024-2025 school year, and also I'm wondering why we don't have board holidays in a year when we have an election taking place in Ontario and or in Canada. That's all my questions I have for right now.
Thank you, Dylan, and I'm going to pass it on to Associate Director Markovsky to respond.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Good evening, Dylan. Thank you for the questions. I'll start off by just giving you a little bit of a recap and then an update. So during the special board meeting that took place on the evening of Monday, April the 13th, trustees did approve the 4 proposed calendars for 2023-2024. They were included as appendices that evening in the report that was brought forward. Since then, the proposed calendars have been submitted to the Ministry of Education to meet our April the 14th deadline. Now, in relation to your question about Eid, we are reviewing the feedback that came forward. What I will share with you is next year we'll be expanding the consultation process for the school year calendars to ensure that a larger scope of diverse perspectives can help inform the structure of our school year calendars. And in relation to elections and how it is that we structure PA days and the school year calendar, Dylan, oftentimes, I know sometimes we know well in advance when certain elections take place, and we will get direction from the ministry to help how it is that we accommodate for elections. But it's really difficult to speak in general terms when we talk about the school year calendar without really knowing how it is that some of the elections come forward. So it's based on the information that we get, and obviously we would respond accordingly.
I do have a supplemental as well.
Okay, go ahead, Dylan, with your supplemental.
You know, I want to add to that, the municipal elections that we had in 2018 and then the one that we had last year, we had PA days on October the 22nd of 2018 and October the 24th of 2018. I was wondering, why did the practice change from the practice from prior to 2018?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So Dylan, PA days are structured to accommodate the teaching and learning cycles of a school year. So in situations where elections take place, where it does make sense to actually put a PA day at that date, we do strive to accommodate, but that doesn't necessarily happen year after year depending on the dates of the elections. So again, it's really, you have to analyze it on a case-by-case basis.
All right. I think that's it for tonight. I hope to see you guys in May 15th.
Thank you, Dylan. Looking forward to seeing you again at the next meeting, and thank you, Associate Director Markowski. The next question will be asked in person. I would like to invite Teresa Keefe to ask a question.
Thank you. Thank you. Put glasses on. So my question is, who is approving the books for the school district and that are in the libraries? And can people donate books without being approved?
Thank you for that question, and I will pass that on to Superintendent Davies, please.
Thank you for your question, and Chair, through you. The final decision on book approval ultimately rests with the school administration. The staff at each school work in consultation with their school administration and the Innovative Education Department to ensure that we align, there's alignment with the learning resource selection policy that we have. This collaboration and this approach ensures that the books that are selected for the school meet established criteria. And the criteria are centering around Indigenous rights and human rights, and ensuring that we're addressing the identities and barriers that may impact our students who are part of historically marginalized groups. So the involvement of the various stakeholders in the decision-making process helps to ensure that the books that are chosen and that are used are aligned with these policies and these procedures. This is the same process that we follow also when we have books that are donated. And when I say the Innovation Education Department, we support that process because we also support teaching and learning and teacher librarians who are part of that collaborative group with the principals.
You have a supplemental that to the either the response or to the question, and it has to be around the same subject. Thank you.
Now it is? Okay, there we go. Yeah, so my supplementary question is, where is a list of these books that are approved, and are they made available for the public to review?
So we do have books for the community schools to access. So in terms of the books that are accessed, the students who attend the schools, the principals who are responsible for the schools have access to those books as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Could you please, I'm just going to turn the question to Associate Director Markowski. Thank you.
thank you, and through you, Chair, and I just want to build on, did you want to build on your comments? Or
Go ahead, I can add.
Okay, I didn't want to, you okay? All right. So during, sorry, and I apologize to expand on what Superintendent Davis shared. So we don't actually have a live directory or repository where we would actually share with you the complete list of all the books. During the pandemic, we did provide, as a result, in terms of responding to the needs at the time, families were provided with an online directory. It has since, we've gone back to our previous practices. So there is an online directory, but it's for internal use, not external use, and there are kind of, what I would say at least, some safeguards that we put into place. in relation to that. I hope. And I want to use the word safeguards. Now-
Could you please refrain from talking so we can hear the answers? It's important for everybody to be able to listen and be respectful to hear the answers. Thank you.
And sorry, and I need to apologize because I don't want to mislead you, but when I was referring to safeguards, it's how it is that external sources access our internal structures. So there are IT structures within that we're mindful of. That's really what I was trying to refer to in terms of the last statement. Sorry.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the next question. I will invite Janice Strasberg to come forward to ask a question. Just push the button.
Thank you. What data or statistics do you have to support that the LGBTQ community is being harassed, exploited, or abused, and therefore needs special rights and protections in the schools? I've lived in this community 66 years, know many gay, lesbian community members, and I have never seen any of them ever ill-treated. How is this special treatment in the schools justified?
Thank you, and I'll pass this on to Superintendent Hamid to respond.
Thank you, and I appreciate the question regarding the need for protections for 2S LGBTQIA community. It's essential to recognize that the struggle for these rights is not about special treatment, but rather recognizing the inherent human dignity of every individual. It's also important to recognize that even if someone hasn't personally experienced or seen discrimination against a member of the 2S LGBTQIA community, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. The reality is that many individuals from marginalized communities experience discrimination and harassment on a daily basis, and sometimes in subtle and insidious ways that may or may not be difficult to detect. The Ontario Human Rights Code recognizes the value and worth of every person, guaranteeing equal rights and opportunities without discrimination. This includes protection from discrimination and harassment based on sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression. As a school board, we are not only legally required to uphold these rights, but have an unwavering commitment to upholding these rights and preventing discrimination and harassment in our schools and workplace. Moreover, the Education Act and ministry policy directives acknowledge that 2S LGBTQIA and other identity groups are bullied in schools and school communities. Our own research and data, including both qualitative and quantitative data collected from students and employees, also demonstrate negative experiences for 2S LGBTQIA community members. It's vital to listen to and believe the experiences of individuals who have faced discrimination and harassment based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. By enacting our responsibilities under the law to protect and uphold human rights for all members of our community, including the 2S LGBTQIA peoples, we can create a more just and equitable society for everyone.
Thank you. You have a supplemental? And again, it's either to the response. Thank you.
Yes.
And, you were on, just push the button again, wait till it turns red, thank you.
Where did you get the data to support this? Did we pull it out of the air, or it just...
I believe that the question was, actually, in the answer was, we have our student survey data. That is one of the things, and then I'll pass it on to Superintendent Hamid to add to some of the other things as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Could we need to please, so that we can
Thank you.
hear the answer, please? Thank you.
So we have many sources of data that support what we're saying. First of all, we have our positive school climates data. Secondly, we have our interaction data that was gathered around student expression in schools, that was gathered by members of our student senate, where we ask individuals to talk about their experiences. We have multiple sources of data that clearly identify that members of this community are experiencing challenge in the schools, and we need to listen to them.
Is this
Thank
published
you.
anywhere? Where is it?
Thank you. Could you please, so we can going on to the next question. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next question. Thank you very much. We have business to contain at this point in time, and we have a full agenda. We've answered the question. We're going to move on. Thank you very much. Can I ask Jessica Wilkins to come forward to ask the question? Thank you. Can you please just ask your question? Thank you. It was on, and then you...
Hello?
Wait till it's red. When
The
it goes-
DDSB pushes acceptance and respect among the LGBTQ community. I think it's important to be accepting of others' differences. Questions and discussions should be encouraged by the school board if it's about education. How can you expect the public to learn if we're not allowed to ask questions about it? Why are questions about this topic so heavily discouraged by DDSB?
Thank you for the question, and we do welcome and value diverse community perspectives and questions. We appreciate that these can help support our learning and shape our different ways of thinking and new approaches to our practices. However, questions, interactions, and discussions in our classrooms, schools, workplace, and the boardroom must be respectful and free of discrimination. Questions or comments that erase or demean identities protected by the Human Rights Code or that perpetuate discriminatory stereotypes and assumptions are not acceptable. We are not trying to discourage questions, as you have heard tonight, but we are upholding the rights and preventing discrimination in the DDSB learning environment and working environments, which is consistent with our legal responsibilities. Thank you. We're moving on to the remaining questions. Supplemental. Please push the button. Push the button, please.
The way we were treated when we had questions is we were told we were transphobic and homophobic, and therefore people don't come up here and ask questions that they actually want to ask. So it would be really nice if you guys would stop calling us homophobic and transphobic, because the last time we were here, we were attacked for it. Our belongings were stolen, and we were depicted in a way that was unfair by our MP as well, by Jennifer French. So we would appreciate it if you'd stop calling us names. Thanks.
We're moving on to the next question. The remaining questions will be read into the record by Executive Lead Robert Surjanek. There was no question, it was basically a statement, and I'm moving on to the next question. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. The first question this evening is, why are books such as Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe, which is in 3 DDSB high schools, allowed to be available in school libraries that contain sexually explicit imagery? And we'll turn that over to Associate Director Markowski to respond.
Again, we're having difficulty hearing the answers and the question. Is to be respectful, as I said. We are trying to be respectful, and you are not being respectful to this environment. We're going to call a recess at this point in time so that we can have our discussions in a calm environment so people can calm down. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to resume the question period, and we appreciate if people be respectful and listen to the answers that is being provided. I'm going to turn it back over to Executive Lead Robert Surjanic. Thank you.
Happy to repeat that question. Why are books such as Gender Queer by Maya Kobabe, which is in 3 DDSB high schools, allowed to be available in school libraries that contain sexually explicit imagery? And I'll turn it over to Associate Director Markowski to respond.
We have some background noise there.
There we go.
Thank you.
So thank you for the question. I'm going to start off by just sharing a little bit in relation to our DDSB's learning material selection policy and procedure. I think that'll set some context in terms of the response, and then I will specifically answer the question. The DDSB's learning material selection policy and procedure requires a committee consisting of representatives of students, parents, teachers, teacher librarians, administrators, and trustees be selected to meet to review any text for which concerns are raised to the board and to formulate a response to concerns raised as in terms of the use of these resources in our schools. So the title that's actually being questioned this evening, Gender Queer, was actually reviewed during the 2021-2022 school year from a concern that was raised by a community member at that time. The committee that was formed in response to the concerns read the book and, in consideration of DDSB's Indigenous Education and Human Rights Policy, concluded that the book was found to align with the district's policies and can remain in distribution in school and libraries.
Again, could you please refrain? We cannot hear the question.
So,
again, we need to be respectful. We're going to call a secondary adjourn. I ask the trustees to please move to the out to the other room, please. Thank you. We are going to resume the meeting at this point in time. I believe we have one question left, so I will pass it on to Executive Lead Sir Janet. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. The last question is, in keeping with the DDSB's inclusive policies, when will the DDSB recognize, acknowledge, and include students who identify as Judeo-Christian? I'll turn that over to Associate Director Markowski to respond.
Thank you, and I'm going to actually just try to keep this one relatively consistent, but I do want to start off by saying that we strive to include all identities in the work that we do. So it's not about, when we look at our DDSB human rights policy and its related procedures, or Indigenous education policy and its procedure, we recognize that as a result of historical and ongoing discrimination, what we're doing is trying to create a space or make space for different groups and identities that have not always felt visible or affirmed in our system to be acknowledged. So it's not about diminishing the identity of others. It's rather actually assuring that we are creating voices that have been historically marginalized, an opportunity to be visible and affirmed. So I will leave it at that in relation to that question.
Thank you for that answer. We will now move on to the next item, which is the report from the Committee of the Whole in camera, and I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Thatcher. Thank you. Supplementary is only for the people that were, and originally we had no idea. We have to move on with the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. The board approved the actions of the Committee of the Whole in camera and adopted the motions made at the Committee of the Whole in camera meeting as follows. Litigation affecting the board, administrative transfers and placement. Chair Edwards, this is my report. I move now that the board receive the actions of the April 17th, 2023 in-camera meeting.
Thank you. That's a motion to receive the the Committee of the Whole in camera meeting. I have a seconder, Trustee Cunningham. Any questions at this point in time? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item 10, which is the good news for the system, I'm going to again pass it over to Director Camille Williams-Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you, through you, Chair. As always, the good news from the system, it will come in the form of a video, and we'll ask our media services folks to let that play to share some of the work and undertakings of our students and staff in our DDSB community.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of DDSB students and staff, we are happy to bring you good news from across the system.
Students, staff, parents, guardians, and community members across the district have been celebrating Ramadan. Many of our schools have celebrated alongside students, staff, and families through hosting Evening Iftars, a fast-breaking meal by Muslims during the month of Ramadan, immediately after sunset.
On March 31st, DDSB students and educators raised awareness about Transgender Day of Visibility. Classes celebrated the accomplishments of transgender and gender non-conforming people while raising awareness of the work that still needs to be done to achieve justice. The transgender flag was raised at the Education Center and at schools across the DDSB.
The DDSB Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program was thrilled to host Jamie McMallen. She is a motivational speaker, journeywoman, ironworker, apprentice boilermaker, author, and an advocate for skilled trades, technology, mental health, homelessness, and youth. Jamie visited 10 DDSB schools and spoke to more than 2,300 students in grades 7 to 12 about the pathways into skilled trades.
The Ignite Durham Learning Foundation, IDLF team, would like to thank all staff, students, and parents/guardians for participating in the second annual Make Tomorrow Brighter online auction. The auction provided the opportunity to bid on more than 200 amazing prizes, including NBA and NHL tickets, a spa experience, and so much more. Through your participation, $17,820 was raised to help ensure DDSB students have food, clothing, and the ability to participate in extracurricular activities. Thank you to all who generously participated.
Students across the district continue to show compassion for our neighbors through multiple giving campaigns. Students from Seneca Trail Public Schools sold bracelets in support of mental health programs at the Lake Ridge Hospital. Maxwell Heights Secondary School students brought in gently used items to donate. Fort Perry High School students raised more than $1,300 for the Oak Ridges Hospice from ticket and food sales from their February dance. The Muslim Educators Network of Durham organized their annual Ramadan Iftar dinner this year on March 30th at J. Clark Richardson. The dinner raised over $1,000 for the Turkey and Syria Earthquake Relief Fund. Our DDSB students are making a difference in the community.
The second Empower Her conference returned on March 30th, where elementary schools from across the DDSB joined together. This conference is designed to uplift, inspire, and give a voice to young girls of color, provided students with the opportunity to interact with strong female mentors. These girls left their conference understanding the importance of setting goals to achieve their fullest potential and become leaders and change makers within their community.
Lachlan Miller, a grade 3 student at Maple Ridge Public School, got his big screen debut this year in the film Woman Talking. This film was featured at the Toronto International Film Festival, and Lachlan couldn't be prouder of the well-received film and the important messages it conveys. He is now working on a new Netflix limited series and is grateful for all the support from his school community.
Student athletes across the district continue to engage in competition through sport. Both elementary and secondary students competed in their respective sports and games with smiles, laughter, and the spirit of camaraderie in meeting new friends and competitors. Congratulations to all our athletes and competitors across the district.
The dates of significance, as you can see, take us up to the end of May.
Thank you to Alicia and Anusha from Altona Forest Public School for reading this month's good news.
It's great news that we've had in the system. Are there any questions about the good news from trustees? Seeing none, I'm moving on to, we seem to have one presentation on the Youth Leadership Worker Update. I'm going to pass this over to Associate Director Markovsky to start off the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Edwards, I will wave our guests down to the podium. So the report begins on page 26 of your package. The purpose of this report is to share an update with the Board of Trustees on the role of the youth liaison workers. And I want to welcome all our guests, and I will turn it over to Nicole Brown, our Community and Partnership Development Specialist, who will introduce our guests and begin our presentation. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you very much, Associate Director Markovsky. And through you, Chair Edwards, it is my pleasure to join you this evening. As mentioned, my name is Nicole Brown from the Community and Partnership Development Department, which lends oversight to our team of youth liaison workers. I'm joined this evening by my esteemed colleagues and some very special guests that I will introduce to you shortly. We're here tonight in the capacity to update you on the impact of the youth liaison worker role that's being had in our schools and with our students. Working on the front lines with our students is a privilege and responsibility that should be revered as such because of the ability one has to make an impact, be it positive or negative, on the next generation. Our exceptional team of youth liaison workers are doing incredible work at positively impacting the students they have the privilege of serving. The Youth Liaison Worker role was originally established as a pilot project in 2018. Navigating the transition between elementary and secondary school can be challenging for some students, and our youth liaison workers provide support to help ensure success by helping youth feel connected to their community, promoting involvement in school and community life, and engaging active participation. What was originally one position has now grown to a team of 3 youth liaison workers who are currently working in the listed 15 schools and supporting over 70 students. At the root of this role is relationship building and collaboration. Our youth liaison workers work with their students, parents, school administration, and other staff to tailor a program that meets the needs of each student. And because each student is unique, that support looks different for everyone. From one-on-one mentoring and small group support to purpose-driven clubs and events such as Be Me, Girls Empowerment, and Black Student Leadership Alliance, our youth liaison workers work to provide what is needed to support their students' growth and success. Although she was unable to attend tonight, the former principal of Ajax High School, who is currently leading Pickering High School with excellence, will speak to the impact she observed while working with Jamone, a member of our team. Here is Eleanor McIntosh.
The transition between elementary school and high school requires a team approach whose sole focus is the well-being and success of all of our students. On the school side, administrators, guidance counselors, and professional service support staff work in partnership with students and families to facilitate those healthy, caring relationships that affirm students' identity. The team for which Jamone is a part of plays a key part of that multidisciplinary team. His work centers human development at a critical time in an emerging period of adolescence. Over the 4 years I have worked with Jamone, he has connected with over 200 youth. He has an informal presence that is non-threatening among the student community. He liaises with families and administrators, participates in the implementation of programs such as Be Me, and also provides support for social engagements in spaces such as the Ajax High School Youth Hub. He also provides perspective about complex student cases. In my role as an administrator, I value the insight that Jamone provides about the layers that make up the unique characteristics of our students. Jamone approaches his work with humility that is nurturing and exudes kindness. As we worked to welcome students back to Our Place Youth Hub at Ajax High School at the end of last year, Jamone not only participated in the planning, but also hosted the event that brought over 80 students back into the space following the pandemic. The investment that DDSB has made into the Transition Youth Worker Program is valuable and yields significant impact to students. It is this type of model that reflects our shared understanding of goals for effective student success practices. The transition between elementary
And also unable to attend tonight, but wanting to contribute, I want to share what Alice, a member of our ISS team who collaborates with another one of our youth liaison workers, Shamika, has had to say. Shamika has been an exemplary role model for the students she supports in our schools. She upholds professionalism whilst creating an environment for the adolescent population that is relatable. Shamika's warm aura is noticed and appreciated by the staff and students. Through her rapport building, Shamika has been able to support students by redefining success outcomes through an equitable lens that centers student identity and experiences in a strength-based perspective. And now to speak a little bit more to what they do in our schools, allow me to welcome Jamone and Shamika, two of our 3 youth liaison workers.
Hi, everyone. My goal is to give students of the Durham District School Board the opportunity to have the best memories of their educational experience. In order to do that, I would like to help teachers reduce deficit language regarding youth, and increase positive talk within our schools. I also plan to advise teachers on how to develop a rapport with their students, as well as providing more educational field trips. All students have potential with the right guidance and leadership. Some youths are more challenging than others. However, challenging students need at least one adult to believe in them. The youth are our future, and in order to expect greatness from them, we must believe that they can achieve greatness. Overall, youth liaison workers have become our school's superpower, and all students deserve the opportunity to work with one.
Good evening, everyone. Simply, the reason I decided to work in education is because I wanted to serve students in the way that I wasn't. It is extremely important for me to be present, to meet them where they are, and to remind them that there are people that truly care for their well-being. In my role, I have adopted Search Institute's developmental relationships framework into my practice, where there are 5 elements, each with specific actions. 1, express care. 2, challenge growth. 3, provide support. 4, share power. And lastly, expand possibilities. It is my desire that every student arrive to the destinations they input into their life's GPS. It is my hope that they allow me the shared experience in being a passenger in their journey. Every obstacle they encounter, they are certain their support is not only nearby, but it is steadfast. It is my joy to continue to serve students. I feel very honored, humbled, and privileged that I possess the ability to impact a life daily. I will end off by saying a principle I live by and encourage students to consider as they navigate life. Moments maximized will remove years frustrated. Thank you for your time. So I'd like to introduce 2 students that I have the pleasure of working with. This is Jaden, and they are both students from Ajax High, and this is Gemini, and they're going to share some thoughts on behalf of me.
Since elementary school, Jamon has been the one person that I can confide in. Even when I was not interested in conversation, he would simply say hi to me, and over time, I naturally started to converse with him. Ever since then, he has impacted my life positively. Not only has he been a support system for myself, but he has also been a support system for many others. Jamon has opened up new opportunities for my success and continues to encourage me to thrive. For years now, he has helped me overcome many obstacles and has provided me with strategies to better myself. Whenever people see Jamon, they automatically want to talk to him, and when he is not around, people will be asking where he is while looking for him. Jamon is someone that I highly respect, and those around me would say the same. For all these reasons and many more, I am pleased to say that I am highly grateful and pleased to have someone at my school that genuinely cares about the people of our community. A personal connection to Jamon supporting me at a time of need was when I was having difficulty applying to universities. I was very stressed and felt pressured by my family to apply to schools and figure out what I wanted to do after high school. Jamon sat down with me once I expressed to him that I was in a rough spot when it came to the post-secondary options, and Jamon made sure to take the time to help me look at certain programs and schools in the area and around Ontario that would be beneficial for me to start my career path. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Ever since grade 6, when I met Jamon in my elementary school, he had the biggest impact on me. From the first day I met him, he has been kind and helpful. Jamon is such a positive, uplifting mentor to me and has made such a positive impact in my life. Jamon is the first person that comes to mind when I am having a hard time and need someone to talk to. Although I don't trust people easily, Jamon has always respected whatever I tell him and has influenced me in the right direction every time. Much of my success comes from the mentorship and influence Jamon has brought, not only me, but other students within and around my school. Whenever Jamon is in the school, I can see the joy he brings to others when they can finally express how they feel with someone that makes a difference like him. I don't know how to thank him enough for all he's done for me, and I can definitely say he is one of the reasons I have matured into the person I am today. Even when I see the way Jamon interacts with my peers and how I see students around me change due to the impact Jamon made on them, I'm beyond thankful to have someone so humble and charismatic like Jamon in my life and school community. I met Jamon about 6 years ago, and he has made a huge impact on me. The start of this school year, I had gone through one of the most heartbreaking things to happen to me. I waited 2 years, trained, worked hard to make a certain team, but didn't make it. It was the end of the world to me, and I became very depressed, angry, and lost all motivation. And I had felt everyone else was judging me. But Jamon had been the person to help me out with the depression and the angry state that I was left in. I never once felt judged by him, and Jamon would constantly check on me and give me strategies to cope with the feelings I was facing. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. And I just want to welcome 2 students from Clara Hughes Public School. They're both grade 8 girls, Amaya and Lavion.
My name is Amaya Dadu. I'm a grade 8 student at Clara Hughes Public School. I met Ms. Steer through the female empowerment group that she runs every Monday. Ms. Steer is such an amazing example of a strong Black woman. She makes me feel loved and respected. I never feel judged when speaking with her. She's a person I am grateful for. And with her bringing all these strong girls together, makes me so excited to keep working with her. When we are together in the female empowerment group, we make bracelets, watch movies, and talk. Miss Steer always has great ideas and great pep talk. She never fails to put a smile on my face, and when she told me she was going to be at Eastdale, I was very excited because it helped calm my nerves about going into high school.
My name is Lavion Walters. I am also a grade 8 student at Clara Hughes Public School. Ms. Steer is a wonderful woman. She's taught us the importance of being a beautiful young Black woman. She has a great goofy personality. Every Monday is like a day of happiness being around her. She has been a huge leader for the girls group and Black community. She deserves all the credit for being here with us every Monday, because without her, we wouldn't know or be able to love ourselves and to know not to change for anyone. Being around her is like being in a bubble because you feel safe and you never have to feel judged. We're so grateful to have her at Clara Hughes Public School. We love her and appreciate her in every way we can for being such a pretty and important person in our classroom. We love you, Ms. Steer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amaya, Jaden, Gemini, and Lavion, sorry. We really appreciate your voice and the time that you've taken to share your thoughts this evening. Now, as I reflect upon positive impact, I can't say enough about our next speaker. As a leader, she is on the front lines and hands-on with everything happening in her school and is in 100% support of anything that will enhance her students' school life and experience, which is how she's come to support our Youth Liaison Worker program. Please welcome the principal of GL Roberts, Don White.
Thank you very much. The importance of the youth liaison worker cannot be overstated in any way. The connection and the work that our youth liaison workers have had in our school, as you have heard tonight from these lovely ladies, is paramount and important to their success. But it's not just the relationships that the youth workers have with our students, it's the relationships that they have with administrators and staff. I can tell you many times Jamon has been in my office and we have talked about just some things that have come up, maybe things that students needed us to know but didn't want to tell us themselves. And it's building those relationships and that collaboration that has really helped enhance the experience for our kids. What's really, really important, and I really would like to stress this if I can, is that oftentimes we don't always get to see all perspectives, and having that extra person there to talk through and being able to see exactly what our students are feeling but are often scared to show us has really been a huge impact, has had a huge impact on our schools. I'm grateful, excited. I can't wait for more work that we're going to be doing together with our youth liaison workers. And I just would love you all to know that as we continue and carry forward the success that we see with our kids, but not just when it comes to academic academically and in the classroom, but also when it comes to socially, has just had an amazing positive impact on the school. So thank you very much. I'm grateful for the work that they do with us and can wait to see what we're going to be doing next. And thank you to Nicole for having for me to be here tonight as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. The role of the youth liaison worker is very important, and I'm thankful that the board recognizes the value of it and need for it. But more importantly than the role itself is who fulfills it. We have an exceptional team of youth liaison workers that you can be very proud of, and their positive impact will only continue to grow with increased support. We thank you so much for your time this evening and welcome any questions or comments that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will open up for questions at this point in time. I have student trustee Ben Cameron.
Thank you, Chair. I absolutely believe that all of our students are able to and deserve to succeed. And it's too easy in our system to let students fall through the cracks. And I think that all of you are a demonstration of what's possible. And I just wanted to thank you for coming, and thank you to the liaison workers for all the work you do.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I just want to thank you. I mean, I have seen Jermone in his element in the school and how this students do relate to him, and he does put into, as far as his, I only wrote down 3 points, but some of them were very important, is that you help them explore their possibilities. You do listen to them and you relate to them, and you do provide that support that is extremely important, as mentioned, as that is needed within our schools, that extra set of ears. And I really, really appreciate this, the youth worker program, liaison program, because it does make a huge difference. I did see it in Ajax High School when it started, and I fully support the program. And thank you for the work that you do. And I want to also say thank you to the 4 students that came and presented, because obviously, also the help of the youth workers with yourself, they've given you your confidence. I only wish I had that support when I was going through school, because I'm still terrified, and you did an amazing job here. So thank you so much. All right, we will be moving on to item 12, which is item 12, recommended actions. And the first item is, I'll pass it on to Trustee Thatcher, giving a report on the Standing Committee of April 3rd. I'm pushing.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Edwards, I move that the board now receive the minutes and approve the actions of the April 3rd, 2023 Standing Committee meeting.
Trustee Thatcher moves that. May I have a seconder? Trustee Cunningham. Any questions on the Standing Committee report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Moving on to item 12B, which is the update of the strategic planning process. I'm passing it over to Executive Lead Robert Sojanek.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, good evening, trustees. I'm pleased to provide the board with an update on the strategic planning process. The board's current multi-year strategic plan, Ignite Learning, was adopted in 2018 and in 2020 was extended until September 2023 this year through a board resolution. The work to establish a new strategic plan started last fall, and in February, a working group was formed to select an external consultant. Their name is called Maximum City, who will be supporting the board through the strategic planning process. As trustees are aware, we held an introductory and visioning session for trustees to help guide the work of the strategic plan. A working group comprised of trustees, student trustees, the director, both associate directors, and the executive lead has been formed with the consultant in order to support trustees in guiding and designing the strategic plan process. That working group will begin its meeting shortly, as trustees are aware, and will report to the board through the director's role as secretary to the board. A staff working group with the consultant has also been formed to ensure that the effective resourcing and coordination of the consultative process and the back-end work required to develop the strategic plan takes place. We've established a tentative timeline that slightly differs from what you find in the report this evening, so I'll read that out in its entirety just for the clarity of trustees. In April, to establish a trustee-led working group to design and guide the critical path, including the approach to the data strategy and broad consultation, to establish a staff working group as well. In March and April, an environmental scan to understand the direction of strategic plans across the province. In late April, the draft direction of the strategic plan. In May, the first round of the consultative process. So that's really to gather feedback from trustees, students, families, staff, partners, and community members. In June and September, to redraft that direction based on data and feedback received and collected through the development of the strategic plan and the consultative process. In September and October, a second round of consultation and feedback received from, again, trustees, staff, students, families, partners, and the community, and then aiming for a final report to the board for approval in November 2023. And as part of that, in the lead up before the summer break, the board would receive updates on that work at the April, May, and June board meetings. So the DDSB is committed to seeking input and feedback using a variety of methods from students, staff, parents, guardians, caregivers, our partners, which include our union and federation partners, affinity networks and associations, and the community as well. We'll be informing the community of opportunities to become involved through the strategic planning process, the consultation and feedback sessions, through schools, the website, email, and social media, once we're able to work through that with the trustee working group. Finally, as the current strategic plan is expiring in September, our recommendation tonight is that the Board of Trustees extend the current strategic plan through to December 31st, 2023, to allow for sufficient time for the consultation and development process of the new strategic plan. That is our report, and we're happy to take any questions.
Questions from trustees? Trustee Morton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Edwards. Developing a multi-year strategic plan is extremely important work, and I feel that it requires much time for reflection, for consultation. This is not a process that we should be hurrying through, so I definitely support taking our time until December of 2023. So I'm looking at the recommendation on page 39, and I would very much like to move that recommendation.
Thank you, Trustee Morton. I have a motion on the floor to move, extend the strategic plan through to December 31st, 2023. I need a seconder. Trustee Oldfield. Now we can have any further questions for or discussion on that. Thank you. I don't see any questions, although I agree that we're looking forward to all the consultation that is required to build our new strategic plan. This allows us the extension to move it on. So I'm seeing no other questions. I need all those in favor to extend the plan. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. moving on to the information items, we're starting off with the item 13A, which is the Integrity Commissioner's report. I'm going to pass that on to Council Cotter.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Edwards. The report can be found starting at page 75 and over to page 76 of your agenda package. Section 4.4 of the complaints protocol, which is part of the board's code of conduct, indicates that the Integrity Commissioner shall report annually to the Board of Trustees on complaints not within the jurisdiction of the Integrity Commissioner, but shall not disclose information that could identify a person concerned. The report that is found at page 75 is the annual report from the Integrity Commissioner in accordance with Section 4.4B. The report confirms the role of the IC to provide advice to trustees on matters governing their ethical behavior in compliance with the Code of Conduct. The IC is also responsible for receiving, assessing, and investigating appropriate complaints respecting alleged breaches of the Code. The report confirms on page 76 those matters which the IC declined to investigate because they were not within the jurisdiction of the Integrity Commissioner, and the report confirms the billing for the annual period reported as approximately $43,000. Subject to any questions you may have, that's the report, the annual report from the Integrity Commissioner.
Thank you. I do have some questions. Trustee Cunningham.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Council Cotter, there was one report where we leveraged a different Integrity Commissioner, and I'm wondering if that is included within the $43,000 listed here.
No, this would just be the billings for ADR chambers.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to I guess it's the Code of Conduct Complaint Summary Report. Council Cotter, please.
Thank you, Chair Edwards, and through you. And perhaps, Trustee Cunningham, I might have misconstrued the question. I believe, unless I'm mistaken, you're talking about another investigator through ADR chambers. So any work done through ADR chambers would be captured, but this is only for the period January 22 to January 23. So any work done by ADR chambers, which would include Ben Drury as well as Michael Maynard. So the next report starts at page 77 of the agenda package. Section 4.6D of the same complaints protocol in your code of conduct provides that where the Integrity Commissioner does undertake a formal investigation but finds there's no breach of the code, the Integrity Commissioner shall deliver a report to the board in a summary fashion only, not the full report, but just a summary of the report. So that is what's included at page 77, and it just contains a pretty brief summary that the Integrity Commissioner did undertake an investigation pursuant to a complaint filed in December that was concluded in March. Subject to any questions you may have, that is the report of the Integrity Commissioner.
Any questions from trustees? Seeing none, thank you very much, Council Cotter. Moving on to the next information items, and again, there's the next five are actually from 13B to F, are notice of motions. They will return to the May board meeting for discussion, and the vote will be taken upon. But I will go on to 13B and move it to Tracy Brown for the report. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Edwards. Coming out of the March 29th Governance and Policy Committee meeting, we have 4 notices of motion in the agenda package, setting out the matters that will come back to the board for recommended approval at the May board meeting. The first is agenda item 13B, notice of motion, rescission of the legal opinion policy and regulations. The next agenda item, 13C, notice of motion, rescission of school operations policy and regulations. The next is agenda item 13D, notice of motion, rescission of youth and adult student engagement and success, grades 7 to 12 plus, policies and regulations. The fourth is agenda item 13E, notice of motion, revised consolidated bylaw. My final report is agenda item 13F, minutes of the February 1st Governance and Policy Committee meeting. Chair Edwards, that concludes my report to the board this evening.
Thank you. Trustee Oldfield, sorry, actually I have Trustee Stone and then Trustee Oldfield.
Oldfield was first.
According to my list, it was Trustee Stone and then Trustee Oldfield.
So I just want clarification of how we're going through these. Are we going through them one at a time? Are you taking them all at once?
They are notice of motion, so discussions, they're here for information, and then discussion and voting upon these will come in at the May board meeting, Trustee Stone.
So I would like to move that one of them be, that the notice of motion be deferred till the May meeting, because there are members that were not able to come here tonight. Parents who are of the Muslim community celebrating Ramadan. I know they would have come and asked questions regarding this or would have wanted to hear the discussion. I'm just wondering if we can move this notice of motion to the May meeting.
Trustee Stone, a notice of motion is just an information item, and so the discussion and stuff will happen actually in the May meeting. So there is plenty of time between now and then that people can present their information either through sending either through emails or even coming to ask questions at the next meeting for sure. There's no motion on the table. There are notice of motion, so there's no, at the time in May, if you wish to look at postponing again at that time, then that's when the time where we would consider a postponement of a motion, but there's no motion on the table. Trustee Oldfield.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I recognize that we're not debating this this evening, but I wanted to flag for the Governance and Policy Committee when we are meeting at the next board meeting and having debate, that I will be looking for information on page 87, which is principal, vice principal's duties and responsibilities, and looking at why it's coming out. Is there something replacing it, or is there actually something already there? And then also on page 99, which is the music elementary schools, basically the same thing. You know, why is it being removed? Is there something already in place? Is there something that's going to be going in its place? And yeah, if that can be provided for the next meeting, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Oldfield. Trustee Stone.
Thank you. I just want to clarify for people that the next meeting in May, there will be discussion around this motion. Will the motion then be voted on?
That, again, it depends on, as far as depending on what the things, that the board doesn't predetermine that. People around the table, trustees, it's up to the decision of the board whether trustees decide to postpone a motion or decide to break up a motion, decide to, so again, it just depends on the will of the board at the time. So at this point in time, the intent is that they've been notice of motion, we collect feedback, trustees also make their considerations, and they come here to listen to the discussions or questions that are provided at that point in time. And if there's a vote called, there's a vote called. If there's not, for postponement, again, it's at the will of the board. Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Chair Brown of the Governance Committee. Moving on to item, 13G, which is the Special Education Advisory Committee. And I'm going to, Trustee Miller.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Just wanted to highlight a few features for February 16th of our 2023 SEAC meeting. We had, in the month of February, we had a BME conference, and the members of Psychological Service and Social Work that formed the BME, which is the Black Excellence Made Evident Collective, were wrapping up their first round of secondary conferences and had various events. Based on the feedback from last year's virtual sessions, the collective had run 2 sets of 2-day conferences, which in Ajax High School and Pickering High School, and had another event at this spring at the GL Roberts School. The feedback was very positive, and the collective has worked with over 80 students on topics that affirm and validate Black youth identity and well-being. The second highlight will be on the mental health and well-being learning opportunities. Supporting student mental health community of practice, focus, and attunement, there were PA day learning opportunities for classroom and support staff. School-based learning with teams with focus on policy and practice, Indigenous rights, human rights, and equity. BMS full training, refreshers, and physical refreshers. For well-being, 2-part learning session with a focus in 1, social emotional learning led by the Child and Youth Support Worker team, 2, compassion, fatigue, and empathy strain facilitated by TEND Academy. You can also find that on the www.tendacademy.ca's website. The last section I'd like to highlight is the special education class planning process, which has begun for the 2023-2024 school year. The process begins with individual student considerations, individual program class considerations, and an examination of current trends at the district level. The trends at this time, expression from students and families of value of range of outcome-based programs, where a child and youth require more intensive support. The last feature, actually that is all for my report, and thank you. And now we will turn to Trustee Oldfield for the other piece of the report. Thank you.
Trustee Oldfield.
Yeah. This is actually coming out of the March 23rd, 2023 meeting. So at the March 23rd, 2023 meeting, SEAC approved a motion to have the following statement provided to the Board of Trustees. SEAC has become aware of harm directed at the transgender community in particular, as well as the broader 2S LGBTQIA+ community that has occurred recently. As a ministry-mandated committee comprised of representatives for associations that support students and families of marginalized students with special education needs, SEAC would like to reiterate our commitment to advocating for school environments that are welcoming, respectful, safe, inclusive, equitable, accessible, and free from all forms of discrimination, harassment, racism, oppression, and harm for all our staff and students. That's the report.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Trustee Oldfield for the report. Any questions for our SEAC representatives, trustees? Seeing none, thank you. Moving on to the OPSPA report, I'm passing on to Trustee Cunningham.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Earlier this month, I and several other trustees had the opportunity to attend a session at the Indigenous Education Center at the Kawartha Pine Ridge. We were able to hear from the KPR District School Board on how they view Indigenous education and how they're able to incorporate and center the lived experiences and worldviews of the Indigenous residents. They were able to explain to us and give us some examples of how they take action for truth and reconciliation and go beyond the land acknowledgement into something that is real and helpful and helps move us forward in our relationship with Indigenous people. We also got a tour of the Indigenous Education Center, and we're very fortunate to be there and learn from people with rich and varied lived experiences. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cunningham. Any questions for Trustee Cunningham? Thank you for that report from OPSPA. On page 164, we see the dates of significance for the rest of April and May for your information. As that concludes our agenda for the evening, may I have a motion to adjourn? Trustee Morton, Trustee Brown, thank you and good night.